Thank you, Kelly, for the reminder. All right, so my name is Stephen Ngao. I'm the VP of Finance at UCLA Staff Assembly. Staff Assembly is for staff by staff. And so today, I just want to give a quick introduction. These Learn at Lunch series is a great way for university staff members to get just a different inside perspective on the different things going on, a lot of cool things going on campus. And so today, we are on this terrific Thursday. We have our guest, Tim Ketchapaw. I hope I said that right, Tim.
Perfect.
Sales coordinator with Autoland. And our sponsor is Wescom Credit Union. And just to give a quick shout out to the organization, Wescom's mission is to build better lives for the Bruin community by exceeding expectations in everything we do. And so with Mr. Tim Ketchapaw, we're gonna have a presentation on car buying basics, just to get a sense of learning the ins and outs of buying a car from an experienced representative who'll share his tips to help you make the right purchase, from getting a loan funded to learning some of the strategies used by dealers. And so this informative presentation hopefully will make buying a new vehicle a lot easier for you. So with that being said, Tim, I'll let you quarterback, and let me just add some folks in while doing that.
All right.
You can take the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. So a little bit of my background. I've been in the dealership world for many, many years. I've been with Autoland for 9 years. And before Autoland, I was with Honda for 16 years. So that's why they have me doing these seminars, because I've been in the dealership world a long time, and I know a lot of tricks and stuff that they do that you can hopefully get around. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started.
Yeah, go for it. You should be able to share. I get permission.
All right. Can everybody see it okay there?
Yes, perfect.
All right, perfect. Give me 1 second here. I need to. There we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about a few things. Setting your budget. I have that number 1 because it's probably the most important thing you can do. So talk about setting your budget. We're going to talk a little bit about financing, researching cars, car buying options. By types of vehicles, I mean new, pre-owned, lease, that kind of thing. Maintenance and insurance, very important. And of course, how Wescom can help you out with your financing. So setting your budget. I'll probably talk about this a couple times throughout this presentation because it's the most important part. Know what you can afford before you go and buy a car. It's really sad when people go in and they don't know what they can afford, and they get their heart set on this vehicle that they can't necessarily afford. So know what you're going to spend before going in. And by doing that, you need to get pre-approved with your credit union, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Expect the unexpected. And what we mean by that is, if you're buying a more expensive car, is your insurance rates going to go up? Is what you're putting in gas, is that going to go up? Or are you going to be saving in gas if you're getting a hybrid versus what you had before? Maintenance costs could be more on the vehicle you're getting. So expect that. Be ready for that. New versus used cars. So when you're going to buy a vehicle, right now the market's kind of teeter-tottering back and forth. But once everything settles, new cars obviously are going to be a little more expensive than pre-owned cars. But on pre-owned cars, your interest rate's going to be a little higher than on a new car. So know that going in as well. Getting pre-approved, you'll know what that's going to be. Day-to-day expenses, like I talked about, gas expenses. Are you buying a vehicle that is getting you better fuel mileage or worse fuel mileage? Know that going in. Are you buying a vehicle that's now going to take premium gas instead of regular gas? That happens a lot. Maintenance costs, things like that, insurance costs. You always want to keep that in mind when you're setting your budget. On-loan finance calculators, or online auto loan finance calculators. Wescom has one. You go to Wescom and take care of that. Autoland.com takes care of that as well. And you can put in all your numbers with your down payment or your trade value, and it shows you about a rough estimate of what your payment's going to be. So it's always good to know that before going to the dealership. When you go to a dealership, knowledge is power. So knowing what you can afford, knowing what your budget is before you go in is really going to help you out. And and know your credit score before you go in. Now, getting pre-approved with Wescom, you're going to know what your credit score is. At the dealership, they're not going to tell you. At the end of the deal, they'll tell you what your credit score is. But if you don't know what it is, they're not going to help you out. They're there to make money. And knowing your credit score is going to tell you what kind of interest rate you should get. If you've got tier 1 credit score, then your interest rate shouldn't be too high. But if you're sitting at tier 3 or tier 4 credit, then of course your interest rate's going to be a little high. So know that going in. Knowledge is power when you go into a dealership. Financing, I think everybody here knows what that is. You need help to pay for your car purchase, right? And most people don't have $60,000, $70,000 sitting around just to go buy a car. So you arrange the financing ahead of time. Always arrange it ahead of time, like I've already said, to set your budget. Get the pre-approval with Wescom before you go to a dealership. So that way you know what your APR, what your loan rate should be. You know what your payment's going to be before you go and buy a car. There's different terms. You got your 2-year term up to your 8-year term. Interest rate's going to vary depending on which term you take. Down payments are always good. One, it's going to lower your monthly payment, which is great. And there may be a stipulation where you have to put a down payment depending on your credit score. So be prepared for that as well. Interest is going to be based on your credit score and credit history, right? And your credit union will know that when you get your pre-approval. The better your history, the lower your interest rate's going to be. Wescom offers a really cool first-time auto loan buyer program, which is really cool. You don't need credit history. What they'll do is they'll approve you maybe a little higher interest rate than premium credit. But what they do is if you've made all your payments on time after 12 months, they'll lower your rate for you. Dealerships don't do that. So that's just one more advantage of financing with Wescom. Research the cars ahead of time. Read reviews, read reliability reports online. It's nice with our phone. You have Google right there on your phone. You can check out any reviews online on your vehicle. You don't really want to get your heart set on a car if they've gotten bad reviews. Or maybe you really do want that car and you're ready for that kind of maintenance. But check them out ahead of time and make sure that what you're buying is going to suit what your needs are. If you're commuting, you want to make sure you're getting a reliable car. If you're working at home, you don't drive that much, well, maybe it's not that big of a deal for you. Wescom car buying services, they have a few on their website. Autoland is my favorite, of course. I'm biased on that, but very easy service to use. And then you have other online resources as well. So you've got, and I'll show you some examples, but you've got your manufacturer websites. It's going to show you what kind of cars there are, colors, options, trims that are available, technology that's available. One trick I'll give you on manufacturer websites or even dealership websites, it's going to ask you for your zip code, which is fine. You can enter in your zip code because depending where you're at, it's different pricing. But don't give them much more information than that. Don't give them your email address. Don't give them your phone number. Certainly never give them your social or anything like that online, because they will put that in a database and they will be calling you and emailing you nonstop. That's what they do. KBB, which is Kelley Blue Book. That's a great resource, especially if you're trading in a vehicle, which we'll talk about. And then Edmunds.com is another good place to check out. Auto Trader for looking at new pre-owned car values. Dealer website I talked about. Carfax, if you're buying a pre-owned vehicle, make sure you get a Carfax on it. And we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. And then my favorite, of course, is Autoland.com. You can search new cars, colors, options, trim. It'll give you MSRP, so you can get kind of a ballpark figure on the vehicle. What's nice too is we have pre-owned inventory as well. Right now, I think we're sitting at about 1,800 cars on our pre-owned vehicles on our website. We do have access to more if what you're looking for isn't specifically there. So manufacturer website is kind of an example of what it looks like. Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds. It's all pretty easy. Ours, of course. New pre-owned trade-in. If you have a trade-in, you can get your value right there online. It's super easy. So buying options, car buying options. So there's a few different ways to go. Dealers. So we'll start there. Like I said, I was at the dealership for 16 years. And I will tell you, know what you're going to pay before going to a dealer, because they will overextend you every time if you're not prepared. So make sure you have your pre-approval when you go in. When you get to that dealership, take your Wescom pre-approval offer or letter with you. And that way the dealer knows, knowledge is power. The dealer knows what your interest rate should be, what your payment should be, and what your budget is, what your overall cost is going to be. Dealers are going to try to sell you on payment, not overall price of the vehicle. So they'll extend terms to 10 years. They'll raise interest rate. Like, it's kind of crazy what they do to juggle numbers around to get just the exact payment you want. So when you take your pre-approval letter, you're showing them that, they can't mess around with you. You know what you should have. Test drive the car, take it for a drive, play with it. That's the fun part. That's the person that you're going to see first, right? They call them the salesman. They're really just a greeter. That's what we used to call them at Honda, was the greeter. And they're there to keep you there for a minimum of 90 minutes. That's their job. And the reason why they do that is, dealerships have paid a lot of money to figure out how to get people to buy a car from their dealership. That there's big money spent on that. And one of the things that they learned was time. When people invest their time, they're going to buy from you. And what they've learned is, if a person comes on your lot and you're there for under 90 minutes, there's about a 12% chance that you're going to buy a vehicle from that dealer. Once you've been there 90 minutes, that chance jumps into the low 80s. So about 82, 83% chance that they're going to buy a car from that dealer. So that greeter, that salesman, his job is to get you there, get you in that car, test drive it, keep you there for 90 minutes to invest your time. He's going to have you taking selfies with the car. He's going to have you posting it on social media because he wants you emotionally invested, right? Now, I'm going to give you a little trick. When you go to a dealership, most people now don't test drive cars. They see it online, they buy it, we deliver it. It's super easy. But some people really want to test drive a car before they purchase. If you want to do that, you've got to go to the dealership to do that. What you're going to want to do is make a copy of your driver's license and your proof of insurance. Make a few copies if you're going to go to a few different dealerships. And what you want to do is, when you get there, you go test drive a car, they're going to ask for your license and proof of insurance. Give them the copy of it. That way they have it. One of the tricks but the dealership used to do that I worked at, was they would take somebody's license and proof of insurance, and then they would go put it in a safe location while you went on a test drive. So you go on your test drive, and when you come back, if you want to leave to go check out other vehicles or other dealerships, no problem. I'll be right back. Let me go get your driver's license for you. They'd be gone for 15, 20 minutes. They'd come back. You know what? I'm so sorry. Your driver's license and your insurance is locked up at my manager's desk because we want to keep it safe. He stepped out for lunch. How about we go test drive another car while we're waiting? That's one of the tactics that they use to keep you there for that 90 minutes. So make sure, take a copy of it. That way, if they have a copy of it, what are they going to do? You can leave when you want to leave. They don't have your original. It's a little trick there for you. Don't let the dealers fool you on pricing either. Like I said, they're going to try to sell you on payment. So what you're going to want to do is make sure when you go in, you're negotiating the price of the vehicle. You've already got your pre-approval, so you know what your payment should be for the total amount of your loan. So don't let them negotiate just payment. Always negotiate the price of the vehicle. As long as you get it for the price that you should have for the payment you want, your payment's going to be just fine. Use Autoland. You won't have to mess with the dealership at all. We'll just make it easy for you. And after all that, after you've been there the 90 minutes, then you're going to talk to a closer typically, and he's going to readjust some of your expectations. And he's probably going to keep you about another 30 to 35 minutes, talking about numbers. And if you have a trade-in, he's going to talk about trade-in value and things like that. When you're done there, pause and go get a cup of coffee, go, outside, take a deep breath, because now you're going to go see F&I, finance and insurance. Now, whether you're bringing in your own finance or you're paying cash, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, a dealership, still you have to go through the F&I process. And that's where it gets a little tricky. That's where you need to pay attention to the numbers. You need to pay attention to your term, your loan term. Dealers are going to tell you, if you want this price, you have to finance through us. That's not true. As soon as you get up to walk out the door, they're like, oh, just kidding. Come on back. We'll finance with you. You can finance with your credit union. So, just be cautious and be ready for that. Give me an example. I worked at one of the dealerships I was at. The finance manager, he would not see anybody at his desk to do the final paperwork until they had been at the dealership a minimum of 4 hours. That was his role. And the reason, he wanted people ready to go. He wanted people tired. And he wanted people's time invested, because he knew if their time was invested, they're ready to purchase. And he knew if they were tired and just wanting to get out of there, that he could move some numbers around, and chances are they're going to buy some extra things to where the dealer's going to make some extra money. And what he used to do is when you sit down at his desk, he would bring you the sales contract, and say you discussed a $400 a month payment. He's going to bring in, it's going to be around $600 a month. So it's going to be $200, typically 200 to 250 more a month than what you had talked about. And he's going to try to sell you all the products, right? And that's why the price is more. Is he's going to sell you extended warranty that's overpriced, gap that's overpriced, um, wheel and tire protection, whatever it is. He's going to put all of it into the sale price of that vehicle. Some people take it, no problem, sign on the dotted line, you're out. Most of the time, people, they're like, wait a second, that's $200 more a month than we talked about. I'm not going to do this. This is ridiculous. And he would try to talk people into it. And if they couldn't, his first line was, what, I really like y'all. I think you're a good couple, or you're good people. I really want to help you out. So let me see what I can do for you. I'll be right back. And he would leave people in his office for 30, 40 minutes. I saw him one time, he went to lunch, leaving people in his office, and then came back. And then what he would do is he'd come back, and the payment would be, say you discussed it was supposed to be $400 a month. Your payment would be about $450 to $460 a month. It's always going to be higher than what you agreed upon, by the way. Anyways, so he'd come back and like, I really like you guys. We want your, investment protected. So we're going to go ahead and give you all of this, and it's only going to be $450 a month. So it's $50 more a month than we talked about, but you can collect cans and get that $50 a month. And people typically, okay, payment's good. Let's sign on the dotted line. And like I told you, don't negotiate payment, right? Always negotiate the total price of the vehicle. Because what he would do is he would add all the products, no discounts. It would just add all the products. And then what he would do is he would extend the loan term from, say, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it had to be, to lower the payment closer to that 400 that you had agreed upon. And if, say, he extended it to 7 years, the payment went to $340 a month, he would raise the interest rate to get the payment just over $400 a month. And because you're talking about payment, you're not looking at the term or the total price of the vehicle. So that's something to pay attention to when you go to a dealership. They're not there to be your friend. They're there to make money. So make sure that you're paying attention if you're going to finance with the dealership, pay attention to total price, not just the vehicle price, but the total price, including anything extra that you're going to purchase. Make sure you're paying attention to your loan term, that they didn't extend your term without you knowing about it. Interest rate, you've got your pre-approval, you know where your interest rate should be. So make sure that interest rate is where it should be, and hold them to the fire. It's okay to walk out. Never sign anything until you're 100% comfortable in signing that contract. Because once you sign that contract, the car is yours and there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. So make sure you feel 100% comfortable signing any contracts at the dealership. Another way to buy a car is private party purchase. A lot of people go this route. And what that is, it's an individual selling their car, right? So it's typically going to be lower price than the dealership because it hasn't been through an inspection process. It probably hasn't had the maintenance done. So you're going to need to do some research. Never buy private party without pulling a Carfax. Never buy from. If you buy from a dealer or Autoland, you're automatically going to get a Carfax. But private party, always pull the Carfax. It's about $40 or $45 to get it. But you're going to want to see it. See if it's been in any major accidents. Make sure the title's clear. Look where the car came from. If it came from Texas where it was flooding a few years ago, maybe you don't want that car. California cars are the best. But and take it for a test drive. You'd be surprised at how many people will buy a car from an individual and not test drive it. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm really not comfortable with you test driving my car. I don't know you. I'm not comfortable with it. And people are like, yeah, okay, I understand that. So they'll buy the car. Then they take the car to the mechanic, or they go to drive it away and there's something wrong with it. And if you'd have test driven it, you'd have known that. And the person selling it knew that, and that's why they didn't want you test driving it. So always test drive it first. What I always recommend whenever somebody's buying private party, have them meet you at your mechanic, or at a dealership. So that way the dealership can check it out and pay the $120 to have the car inspected before you buy it. Because then, you're going to know if there's any issues and decide with knowledge to decide whether you want to buy this vehicle or not. Another thing with meeting people, when you're private party purchase, we hear horror stories all the time. People getting robbed, and a lot of people take cash to these deals because they're paying cash, and then they get robbed. Or if you're selling your vehicle, they steal your vehicle. Nightmare stories we've heard. So always meet in a safe place. If you're meeting at a dealership or your mechanic, that's safe. people are around, that's always good. My local sheriff station has 4 spots where you can do just that. You meet at the sheriff station, and that way that's a safe location. Um, Most people are kind, but there are, there are bad people out there. So protect yourself from that. And again, look at the condition of the car before you buy it. A lot of people, they'll detail it, right? But take a look, a couple places you can look to see what, how the car was really taken care of was under the seats. Take a flashlight and look under the driver's seat or the passenger seat. Most of the time people don't really vacuum under there, so it's kind of grimy sometimes. You can kind of see how it looked. Or you can pop the trunk open and where the spare tire cover is, pull that up and look where the spare tire was and see if, if it's all rusty in there, then it probably has some water damage. And just kind of take a look and see what kind of condition that vehicle's in. But number one, take it to a mechanic, have it checked out first. Right. So a few different ways to buy vehicles, right? You can buy a new car, which is great. You get that new car smell. Right now, dealers, because it's so low inventory, a lot of people are ordering vehicles. You can order it exactly the way you want it. You have the latest style, the latest technology, the latest safety features. It's in perfect condition, but you're going to have a higher payment, right? It's a new car. You're going to have a higher payment because of that. Your value depreciates once you buy it. So, there's some good and bad to that. Now on pre-owned, great thing about pre-owned is you're going to get more car for less money because it's pre-owned. You're going to avoid the depreciation, which is a great thing to do, but you're going to have some more wear and tear, right? It might need an oil change. It might need tires. It might need an alignment. You don't really know the history of the vehicle. Even with a Carfax, it's not an exact history of the vehicle. And you may have some maintenance cost if it needs some maintenance. And then leasing a vehicle. Maybe a great option for you to lease a vehicle. What's nice about a lease vehicle is you get a lot of car for less money because you're only paying for a small part of it, but it is short term. You're only getting that car for, typically it's 36 months. Some dealers go a little less, a little more, and you don't own the vehicle. It is the dealer's vehicle. So you have mileage limitations on that. And right now, really never seen this before, but what's going on is a lot of dealers are not letting people buy out their lease. So they're taking the cars back. So it's never your car anyways, even if you love the car. So make sure a lease is good for you because there are a lot of mileage limitations on the vehicle. Also, any damage to the vehicle, you have to get fixed. Otherwise, they're going to charge you for that. So just make sure leasing works for you. Now, for me, for example, I drive roughly 30,000 miles a year. So a lease is horrible for me. And my wife, she works from home. She loves leasing cars because she gets a new car every 3 years. She puts hardly any miles on her car. It's just a perfect fit for her. So when you talk to your Autoland consultant, if you want to lease a car, we'll always walk you through that and help you through that as well. Maintenance insurance, when you're doing your budget, don't forget to include this stuff. You're going to want gap insurance to protect, what gap insurance is say you buy a vehicle for $20,000 and in 2 years it gets totaled, right? So, or it gets stolen or something like that. But anyways, so your loan is, say at this point, 18,000, but the insurance company is saying, well, it's only worth 15,000. You have $3,000 that you're going to have to pay out of pocket. Gap insurance covers that gap in payment. So they'll cover that $3,000. Wescom has a great program for that. That is probably a quarter of the cost of what the dealership's going to charge. So don't forget to do that. Service contracts or extended warranties, they call them. And everybody gets those phone calls all the time. Don't answer those calls. If you want an extended warranty, go through your credit union. It's a great program. And if you do it at the time of purchase, they'll put it in the financing for you, which is really nice. LoJack is always a good one. They've actually gone away. It's called something else now, but it's called GuidePoint. But you can track your car on your phone and stuff like that. And then, of course, insurance and things like that you can get with Wescom. There's what the Wescom site looks like. It's kind of give you an idea. When you get in there, you can click on Autoland. It takes you to our website, and then you can look at cars and stuff like that. Benefits Wescom over a dealership. Dealerships aren't there to help you. They're there to make money. Wescom, membership owned, right? Membership driven. So they're there to help you. They have first time borrower programs. Dealers don't have those. They have competitive interest rates. Dealers don't have that. They don't even want you to know what your interest rate is so they can overcharge you because they make money on that. Wescom will give you discounts for being platinum signature memberships, for insuring your car with Wescom. We run promotions with them often where you'll get another discount for buying with Autoland and financing with the credit union. You can insure your car with them. It's really one-stop shop and it's super easy doing it with Wescom. So we'll take questions in a minute, but I hope, these tips are going to help you make your car buying experience easy, fun. We definitely want it to be, financially sound for you. And, remember, if I can't express it enough, get your pre-approval first. It's super important to do that so you know what your budget's going to be, you know how much you're going to spend before you get your heart set on a vehicle. Really important for that. So we have Stephen, you want to take over if there's any questions?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. That was a very informative presentation. I guess I'll open the floor just to underscore Tim's last slide there. If anyone has any questions, they can jump in. See if I can. All right, some folks are still joining the call, so I have to.
Really quick, it looks like Erica had a question. Can the car dealership advertise one price on the internet and then have 4,000 in mandatory add-ons at the dealership? Yes, and they're doing it a lot right now. And the reason they can get away with it's called an addendum. And you'll have your window sticker, your MSRP, and then you have on the side of it the addendum. And that's going to be everything that they added on it. And what they're adding now too, it's not even an accessory, it's COVID fee basically, and it's I forget what the exact term is, but they're adding $7,000-8,000 on top of the price of the car. So they're saying that addendum, that price is the new MSRP. So be careful when they say, oh, we'll give it to you under MSRP. Well, is it the real MSRP or is it their MSRP? But yeah, they're doing that now and they're getting away with it, unfortunately. It's just kind of the times we're in right now.
Yeah, certainly. I'm looking at the chat thread. So we have a couple of questions. I'll just read them in order when they come in, or when they came in. So Jeffrey has a question. Does getting pre-qualified for an auto loan affect one's credit score if there is a hard credit inquiry? And then Cecilia is asking, is there a certain time of the year to best buy a car?
Sally, you want to answer Jeffrey's question?
Getting pre-qualified, no, it's not going to affect your credit score. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sal Murguia with Wescom, and but no, it's not going to affect your credit score because being pre-qualified is coming from a list of candidates or members, if you will, who already have the credit score established and are quote unquote credit worthy of the loan that you're qualified for. So there's no credit check that's being performed on our end. It's just pulling a list of those who already have the credit score and sending out the notification to those members that qualify. So that's the answer on that one.
Perfect. Thank you, Sal. Then the next question was Selena. Is there a certain time of the year or best to buy a car? Absolutely. It's holidays. You're typically going to get they're going to have discounts during the holidays. Keep in mind, typically a holiday discount, say like Memorial Day weekend discount, it's the whole month. It's not just that weekend. So don't feel rushed or anything like that. And then of course, when the new models start coming in, they want to get rid of their old models. Now, right now, it's a little different because, Toyota was shut down for a while. Honda was shut down for a while. Chevy and Ford are waiting for microchips, so they haven't been really shipping any vehicles out. So this year is a little different than normal. But once everything settles and we start getting cars back in, absolutely towards the end of the year, typically dealers start getting their new inventory, the next model year in right around August, September, right in that area. Toyota's August, like Hyundai will be, September, October. So it just really depends on the dealership, but contact Autoland and we can help you out with that. No problem.
Thanks, Tim. Another question came in. Is there a point when you recommend to stop the gap insurance, or did I miss if you mentioned that?
Yeah, so on gap insurance, it's a one-time fee. So you only pay it once. I'll give you an example. With Honda, we used to charge anywhere from $1,000 to $1,300 for gap. Wescom, it's a little over $400, and it's the same coverage. So yeah, it's a one-time fee. You don't have to keep paying on it or anything like that. You pay your $400 and whatever it is, and that's it. You're done. You're covered.
Right. And then another question.
All right. So that's a
How
good
do
question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Pardon
Steve.
me? Yeah. Okay. How do you make sure the dealership does not run your credit score so many times that it affects your credit score? It happened to my brother where they ran it like 10 times.
Yeah, that happens often. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. As soon as you fill out that credit application, they're pulling your credit. And the reason they run it so many times is they get paid on interest rate. So what they'll do is they'll submit it with anywhere from 5 to 10 banks to see who's going to give them the best rate on the interest rate. So, if say, Chase is going to give them 3% on the interest rate, Wells Fargo is only going to give them 2%, they're going to go with Chase. So that's why they do so many inquiries, because they want to find out who's going to pay them the most. It has nothing to do with trying to get you the best deal, which they will tell you that, but it has nothing to do with that. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just how they roll.
All right, that makes sense. Another question, what types of services does Autoland provide for car purchases, and how does it work in conjunction with Wescom?
So how we work is we're the auto buying service for Wescom. It's part of your member benefit, so there's no extra broker fees or anything like that, but we're a broker. So what you'll do is you'll get your pre-approval with Wescom, and then you'll talk with an Autoline consultant. They'll let you know, or I'm sorry, you'll let them know what your budget is, what kind of car you want, colors, options, trim. If you don't know what kind of car you want, talk with your consultant about what your needs are, and they'll be able to walk you through. Our consultants do this all the time. So if you tell them some of your needs, they'll be able to refer you to some really cool cars. And then, once we figure out what you want, what you're looking for, whether it's new or pre-owned, we'll go out, we locate the vehicle. We have dealer partners all throughout California that we work with. We'll locate a great deal for you. We'll bring that deal to you. If you like it, then we arrange all the paperwork ahead of time, and we have the vehicle and the paperwork delivered to your credit union branch. Right now, we're delivering to people's work, homes, credit union, whatever's convenient for you. Once the car gets there, you'll take a look at it. You can kick the tires, take it a spin around the block. Make sure it's what you wanted. And if everything's good, then you sign the documents, and we do all the DMV paperwork for you and everything. We make it super easy. We work with Wescom, so once all the purchase orders signed, we get that over to Wescom so they can cut the check. A really cool program we have on our pre-owned vehicles. If you get a pre-owned car from our website, we give you 3-day, 300-mile buyback guarantee. So that way, go check it out. Make sure your mechanic gives you the thumbs up. Make sure it fits in your garage. We've had that happen. On all our pre-owned cars, you get that. And you also get a small warranty with our pre-owned vehicles. We give you 3-month, 3,000-mile powertrain warranty, just to show you that we back up our vehicles, and we want to make sure you're happy. And again, it's all part of member benefits.
I actually have a personal question. I don't see any other questions coming in currently, but I heard as a rule of thumb, 20% down payment is an automatic approval. Is that true, or is that more or less varied based on each applicant?
Sal, that might be a you question.
Yeah, that's a better question for someone who works in our consumer lending department that could answer that. I think that that would just be determined, based on what your credit score is. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not just the down payment. Especially if you're looking at the loan to value, like basically what you owe versus what you have in assets. I wish I could give you a better answer outside of it, but no money down, or money down doesn't necessarily automatically qualify you for anything. There's a lot of factors that goes into approval, especially based on how much debt you have on the table, as opposed to what your income level is. So debt to income ratio is a big factor as well. So just wanted to, clarify that a little bit. But yeah, if you have further questions in regards to that, our consumer lending department would welcome that question.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, Al. Appreciate that.
Stephen, I see another question from Meg, and her question was, is there an advantage to paying cash for a vehicle? Private party, Probably, right? Because people like seeing cash. It's super dangerous because you don't know who you're dealing with. But when it comes to a dealership, paying cash does not help your situation at all. Because remember, we had talked that they get paid off interest rate. They want you financing that vehicle because that's extra money for them. When people pay cash, they're not making any money on that financing part. Also, when people pay cash, they don't typically buy the dealer's warranties or protection packages. So yeah, they definitely want you financing. So there is no advantage paying cash at a dealership. I think that is.
What about
all.
crypto? Is anyone paying in crypto?
You know, we
cryptocurrency?
haven't had that yet. I hope it happens soon because it's kind of the wave of the future. And a lot of us can buy cars now with our crypto because it's done so well. But yeah, no, I haven't seen that yet. That's I'll find out because that's an interesting question. I'll know by the next seminar.
That's good. Do we have any more questions? Oh, see one more. Negotiate the price really well and then tell them. Oh, actually, I think you read that one, Tim. Paying cash at the end.
Yeah, that's a new one, Cecilia. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. They're still going to try to get you to finance, but yeah, you can absolutely do that. Absolutely.
And for paying cash / check at the dealership, I understand there's no advantage for the dealer, but might there be advantages for the buyer?
Well, you're not paying interest rate, so if you're paying cash, you don't have to pay the interest on the vehicle. So yeah, if you can afford to pay cash for a vehicle, it's always a good thing.
If you can afford to pay cash, is it better to pay with your Wescom credit card so that you get the 1% cash back or whatever it is, and then just pay it off
Good question.
within the month?
I would say that, yeah, if you have some advantages that you can take, or if there's opportunities for you to take advantage of using a rewards card or something to that nature, or that gets you a percentage off in terms of total pricing and things of that nature, that's always a good way to go, especially when you're able to pay it off immediately. So that's a perfectly well, developed strategy on your end to kind of take advantage of pricing, but then also take advantage of whatever benefits you have in terms of using some sort of financial options. So that's something to think about for sure. Thank you, Joy.
Joy, thanks, Sal, for the question and answer, respectively. Are there any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing anything in the chat right now.
It seems so fascinating to me how much psychology is done on the dealership side of like,
For sure.
You got to keep them here 90 minutes. You got to have them here 4 hours before they get to the finance piece so they don't haggle and all of that side. Like, I wonder how well known is that by normal consumer? My mind was blown, but I don't know if I'm just sitting in the dark over here and people don't know these. Like, how is this legal, first of all? And second of all, how do we get the word out?
That's funny. It is. I mean, it's legal. They're not doing anything illegal. They're just, taking your time. It is well known only because people talk all the time. Oh, I've got to go to the dealership. Oh, I might as well plan the day to go to the dealership because that's what they do. That's what they've always done. What changed a little bit was a lot of people got used to buying online, and that has, so some of that has slipped through the cracks just with people buying online. You're not sitting at the dealership so long. Now, if you buy online with the dealership, you still have to go to the dealership. But yeah, it's legal. It's what they do. They've always done it. I remember my grandpa, when he helped me get my first car, he's like, all right, Timmy, let's go. We're going to go sit down and we're going to haggle with these guys and we're going to get this done. So yeah, it's something they've always done. They've just gotten more tricky about it. They've done more research, right? They've done their research to find out what it's going to take to get people to buy there. And then number one was time.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm reminded of a point you made, Tim, during the presentation, is where even from a psychological aspect, you're thinking about the monthly payment, but it's more important to focus on the overall negotiated price, because the dealership, their incentive is to make, they can make it so you meet the monthly payment that you prefer, But if the loan term is longer, then it just balloons, it swells up the interest payments. So I think that's a good point to make, just from the thinking from the psychological perspective.
Yeah.
I think we have a few more questions actually. Oh, does Wescom provide any deals for getting an EV, electronic vehicle?
Excuse me. I wish I had a good answer for that. I don't. I'm not personally aware of any deals for electric vehicles. There could be that I could look into and get back to you. Who asked that? Cecilia Ramirez. If that's something that you're really interested in looking into, Cecilia, I can contact our consumer lending department and see if there's something that would lend to a deal for an electric vehicle. Just as far as what we promote, we just promote our low rates on all auto loans, and that would include electric vehicles as well. But perhaps there's something there for incentivizing electric vehicles. So I can look into that for you, Cecilia.
Thanks, Al, and thanks, Cecilia, for your questions. I think Denise has a question. Is it better to hold off on disclosing if you want a specific color and get the deal you want first, and then try to get the color you want with the same deal?
Not necessarily. You want to make sure they have the car you want before you start wheeling and dealing. A lot of times you'll go on the dealer website or you'll drive by a lot, and the website shows a bunch of cars that they may not have yet. They may be incoming, they may be a car they sold but they kept on their site because it was a cool car that people were going to want. Right now, because there's such low inventory, I know some dealers are having their employees park on the front lot and they're just washing them every morning, washing the cars every morning, just to look like they're full. So just make sure they have the car you want before you negotiate anything, before you talk about anything.
Got it. And then Jen had a question. If you're going to need a loan, is it beneficial to put the most down payment down first, or the minimum amount and then put a lump paid later, or does it matter?
Well, with the down payment, the bigger your down payment, the less you're financing, so the less your interest payment's going to be. So up front, I would say would be better.
All right. I guess anyone, if you want to ask any questions directly, been trying to be. Oh, okay, Cecilia, you can unmute yourself and ask questions directly. I'm trying to have a more of a involved conversation here. But any recommendation for what to bring with you when planning to buy an EV? Question from Cecilia.
Not really. I mean, buying an electric vehicles, it's the same thing you're going to go through. Dealers have their process no matter what they're selling. So I will say, if you want to buy an EV vehicle, do it soon. The California it keeps dropping the incentive that they're giving for the electric vehicles, the tax credit.
Got it. What happens when the dealer doesn't have your exact car style available? What are the
That's a bait and switch. That's what they try to do. They try to sell you on something else. They don't want you leaving their lot. So if they don't have what you want, they will try to sell you on something else. And they'll even have, you'll be talking with your sales guy or your greeter, and he'll be trying to pitch something to you. And they have signals at the dealerships, and he'll do a signal, and he'll have another salesperson come out and talk up the vehicle for you. Like, hey, are you buying this car? Because I got somebody that really wants this car right now. And just kind of put a little more urgency into you. So yeah, if they don't have the car available, they're going to try to sell you on something else, which is a great thing working with Autoland, because if we don't have the car available, chances are we can order it for you. Now, it does take longer because you have to order it, right? So it could take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Right now, it could be a couple months, or a few months, depending on what kind of vehicle it is, and if there's microchips out there or not. But we could always order a vehicle for you.
Okay. And Jeffrey had a question for you, Tim. Could you repeat again what documents to bring when buying a car? A copy of driver's license, proof of insurance, and financing from credit union. Anything else?
That's it. That's all you need.
Thank you so much. I'll open the floor. If anyone wants to unmute, you can ask questions directly to either Sal or Tim. Otherwise, Joy, is there anything we should keep in mind just to close things out, or?
I think this was incredibly informative and educational. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Tim, and Sal, of course, for being here as always. Yeah, I learned a lot. I'm very